WP, no, you can't attend the wedding wearing 2 tons of power armor and weapons. The early years of Neo-Jerusalem were a time of chaos and strife. People would pray that the Steel Knights would answer their cries before the raiders reached their homes, and merchants crossing the ashen roads dared not sleep. Yet, it was also the most glorious era of Neo-Jerusalem, where legends were born and myths were made. Every generation produced warriors whose names would one day become legends. Men and women whose victories grew larger, and with every retelling, truth and myth became impossible to separate. Neo-Jerusalem named its greatest champions not with family names, but with titles. Titles that were inherited by no bloodline, bought by no wealth, and granted by no noble birth. They were asterisk-earned. The first knight Gabriel was remembered as the warrior whose arrival from the heavens had broken the siege of White Zion, descending from the clouds in his steel armor, as though heaven itself had answered mankind's prayers. The first knight Galahad had refused lands, titles, and riches after ending the Crimson Crusade. His honor became so unquestionable that the High Synod declared no mortal name could better describe him than that of the pure knight himself. Generations passed, more titles were granted, more legends were born. Yet among all of them, none inspired silence quite like Azrael. No official proclamation ever intended the comparison. The High Synod had merely wished to honor a knight whose campaigns never failed, whose pursuit of justice ignored borders and politics alike, and whose enemies never again threatened the innocent once they had crossed swords with him. But wars have a way of creating their own folklore. There was a saying whispered from one battlefield to another, crossing kingdoms faster than any courier could ride. Should the Black Knight descend, flee. Scouts would return pale-faced, claiming entire companies had vanished after encountering a lone Steel Knight. Mercenaries abandoned contracts upon hearing he had accepted the opposing banner, and bandit kings dismantled decades-old strongholds overnight when reports placed him within 100 leagues. The stories grew with each passing year, that whenever he appeared beneath the enemy's banner, it means their ends were near. The bell tolled, and he merely came to collect their souls. They called him the Angel of Death. Playing into it, Neo-Jerusalem granted him the title of Azrael. Many commanders believed Knight Azrael delighted in slaughter. They could not have been more mistaken. No man who enjoyed killing would spend so long kneeling beside the fallen. No butcher would bother closing the eyes of his enemies before leaving the battlefield. No monster would carry enough medicine to treat civilians rescued from the villages he liberated. Knight Azrael killed because someone had to, not because he wished to. Every campaign followed the same pattern. Raiders, slavers, cultists, kings who believed villages existed merely to fill tax ledgers before feeding the furnaces of war. He offered surrender exactly once. Those who accepted lived. Those who refused never raised another weapon again. Thus, another rumor spread among the enemy that the Angel of Death always granted mercy. Whether that mercy came as forgiveness or a swift end depended entirely upon the choice of the condemned. Years passed, his victories accumulated until no one remembered the number. His armor bore scars older than many kingdoms. His hair, once dark, slowly silvered beneath his helmet. Only his resolve still refused to age. Then came that fateful day. By the time Azrael arrived, the battle had long since ended. Smoke drifted lazily into an evening sky stained crimson by the setting sun. The houses still burned, the well now a pit of corpses, and the chapel's bell lay cracked upon the ground. There were no cries, no pleas, no desperate calls for help, only the wind, carrying with it the bitter and salty scent of ash and blood. He walked slowly through the ruins. He had seen such destruction before. Entire cities, castles reduced to rubble, fields where tens of thousands had perished. Yet the sight never ceased to wound him. If his mind was steel, then surely glass be his heart. He found them one after another. Each corpse told the final story of its owner. An old man still clutching an axe, defiant till his very end. A dog refusing to leave its master's side, praise be their friendship. A mother shielding 2 children beneath her own body. And even if she failed to save her kids, does it matter? He knelt before each of them, offered the same quiet prayer before continuing onward. At the edge of the village stood what had once been a modest stone cottage. Half of it had collapsed inward, the roof was gone, the walls blackened by fire. He almost walked past it until he heard a whimper. The Steel Knight moved, setting aside charred beams that would have required 3 men to lift. Broken stones followed, then burnt timber and splintered furniture. Finally, he uncovered a cradle. The infant inside must have been only a few months old. She was covered in soot, wrapped in a blanket singed by fire, her tiny hands reaching blindly toward the giant of black steel looming above her. She did not cry, simply looked at him. The visor of the terrifying helmet stared back. Neither moved. Then the armored giant removed his helmet. The legends never spoke of Knight Azrael's face. Had they seen it, perhaps they would have found it difficult to believe stories about him. Well now, his voice was softer than the evening breeze. It seems the Lord has left me one more life to protect. The child answered by wrapping her fingers around one of his. Knight Azrael remained kneeling there as dusk surrendered to night. The angel of death carried a life.